in the chat, man. But boys, we've been planning this, for months now. And I'm happy that we are finally getting to it. Let's get the intros out the way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode on the 713 Houston Sportcast. You already know who I am. I am your host, Mr. 713. I am joined by AD, the host of the H-Town Rundown, doing a fantastic job. You'll see him on Spaces, having almost 200 people in that hole listening to him. AD, welcome back to the channel.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me back.
Hey, man, it was so nice we had to do it twice, as they say. And then returning again, y'all already know. Well, you don't know who he is because he goes by the name Mr. Invisible. Welcome back to the 713 Houston Sportcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me back, man. Thank you. Thank you.
So, AD, I'll start with you. And we have 14 people in. Hold up, let's say hi to some of them. What's going on, Leo, Esco, Pedro, Anthony Davis? Is it?
No, not Anthony Davis. No.
I must Pandaling. What is going on? I hope you're having a blessed day. Um, what's going on with Aaron Donald? We'll get to that in a second. Caleb said y'all been grinding. What's going on, Caleb? A lot of people are already jumping in the chat. They're calling Mr. Invisible the mass singer. Yeah, no one knows who he is. I thought it was going to be Mr. Mediocre for a second. If you are an OG Houston Texans content watcher, you guys all know who Mr. Mediocre is. What's funny is we actually, went to elementary school with each other, but we didn't know it. And so, we found out a couple years later that, hey, we were in the same classroom with each other. I'll start with you, AD, just so answer Mr. Jacobs' question. What are your thoughts on Settle, the defensive tackle that the Houston Texans signed today? That's really only the big news after the Malik Collins trade, and we'll talk about that. But thoughts on the Houston Texans getting the defensive tackle?
Let me say this, man. I've been talking about Tim Settle for like the last 2 years on the Spaces and on my podcast, man. I've been high on Tim Settle. Tim Settle is a game wrecker at the defensive tackle position. He went to Buffalo coming from Washington in a different scheme that didn't kind of showcase his skills. But there's a viral clip of him in Buffalo where he manhandled Quentin Nelson. And he pushed him back all the way, basically ragdolled him. And ever since I saw that clip, I did my research. I was like, I'm Tim Settle all day long. And that was a preseason game, if I'm not mistaken.
Damn.
So, and that was his first year in Buffalo. So I was like, man, give me Tim Settle all day. I love Settle. He's a big nose, big guy. He's quick, fast. I think he's gonna be a great addition. And the fact that we signed him for what we signed him for, little to nothing. What is it? 2 years, up to $7 million.
Yeah, I think it was like 6.5 up to 7.
Yeah, like that right there. Sign me up all day.
Mr. Invisible, I go to you, man. The thoughts on getting Tim Settle and the current state of defensive tackle for the Houston Texans?
I'm currently, honestly, I'm okay with that signing. I like the signing. I've watched him play. Like AD said, he wasn't a bad fit. I kind of look at it in the sense of how we did Malik Collins when he was with the Raiders. He wasn't able to showcase because of the scheme, came to the Texans and kind of put on. Tim Settle obviously is a different guy, bigger guy, a run stuffer. I think after that Ravens game that we had, D'Amico really looked at that D-line and was like, hey, obviously it's not the name that everybody wanted. That's okay. Tim Settle's definitely, like he said, a game wrecker. Big dude. I think he's like 313 pounds, man. He's just going to clog up that middle. And I think there's still room to add to the defensive line room, but I think our linebackers are going to benefit very well from this.
He's only 26 years old?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I love about these signings, man, because when you have D'Amico Ryans as your head coach, and we know he elevates talent, right? We saw with Will Anderson Jr., the first 8 weeks only had 1 sack, turns it up at the end, wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. With Christian Harris, we were having some conversations about him in the beginning and in the middle. And the last month of football, including the playoffs, was just dynamic for the Houston Texans. So I have no doubt whenever D'Amico Ryans gets his hands on you, that you will become a better football player. But the age is what I love. When I look at his career here, doesn't doesn't miss time. A full season in his first 6 years. You do love to see that. It seems like he is right here a rotational defensive tackle, but if you need him to start, he will. Started 2 games this year, 2 games last year, one in 20, one in 2019. I don't mind this signing. After hearing what AD and Mr. Invisible said, I feel like this will be a deal that we look at in the middle of the middle of the year and say, hey, this guy is balling now, right? We saw what Khalil Davis just did this season. So I have no doubt that someone like Tim Settle could come in, and I'm not asking you to be a game-wrecking defensive tackle every down, but you could look at every single game and name one play that Khalil Davis disrupted it. Maybe he didn't make a play, but he opened it up for someone else. I absolutely love this signing for the Houston Texans, and I expect more of them. AD, very, very quiet day. The Houston Texans, they trade away Malik Collins to the San Francisco 49ers. And immediately we thought, here comes Arik Armstead. Here he comes, right? Apparently the Texans and them had mutual interest. No, goes to Jacksonville on a 3-year deal. However, I'm not paying Arik Armstead that type of money whatsoever at 30 years old. However, 31, and with so much injury history, I was very surprised that Jacksonville gave him that deal. Not surprised he signed that, but dude, I don't know what we're gonna do at defensive tackle right now.
Look, Jacksonville is doing what Jacksonville does, is overpay like crazy for players. They overpaid for Gabe Davis, and they overpaid for Arik Armstead as well. But yeah, we do need to make some moves. I think we need at least 1 to 2 defensive tackles. I think get one more in free agency, and then I think at this point, the way it's signaling and the way the market is, you're gonna have to draft one. Not opposed to the Byron Murphy. I know it's a lot of people that want receiver, but Byron Murphy, if he's there or he's available for you to trade up and get, Byron Murphy is a perfect guy that can fit in and play along with, Tim Settle and Fadakowski and Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, and all that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at who could be available, and none of the names are really sticking out right now.
Right.
Mr. Invisible. Some other big news on the day: Joe Mixon, 3-year extension. Now, this wasn't talked about when we initially traded for Joe Mixon, right? It was kind of a deal that you did because you didn't want to get into a bidding war for another running back that you would potentially lose. But I like the signing, especially the age of Joe Mixon is 27 years old, coming off of 1,000 yards. Your thoughts on him being a Houston Texan for the next 3 years?
I honestly was not expecting them to give him an extension. Honestly, I thought that it was just going to be one of those things where we didn't want, like you said, get in the bidding war. I'm glad we have him. Great receiving threat. CJ loved to check down the ball as he went throughout the season. I think Joe Mixon is going to have a good career here. I mean, when he had his interview this morning, it was just passionate. He wanted to be here. It was just, I honestly think that's going to be the greatest addition that we've made this offseason, just for the simple fact that he gives you 1,000 yards. He can come out of the backfield, pause, and the dude can literally catch the ball. Like, we love screens. We love the short game. And I think that those little 2-3 yard plays are going to become bigger plays with a guy like Mixon. So I mean, I'm ecstatic about the extension. Although I am surprised that we extended him already, I'm not mad at it.
AD, your thoughts on the contract extension of Joe Mixon, and what type of player do you like? Are the Houston Texans getting in number 28?
They're getting a hard-nosed runner. They're getting a guy who can do it all as a running back. I think he's one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL.
That's what a lot of Cincinnati fans are saying.
Right, because you got to think about it. When you look at Cincinnati, Joe Mixon is probably about the 5th thing they talk about when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, you got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Then you talking about the coach Lou Anarumo. And then they talk about Trey Hendrickson and all. Then they say, oh yeah, and then they got Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is
just 1,000 yards.
Yeah, just 1,000 yard running back, man. For like a great power runner. Fits the scheme what we're trying to do. Fits it well, and I feel like Mr. Invisible said, he's a great running back out of the backfield and can be effective in the pass game. I think he can be more effective than what Singletary was in the passing game, and because he's more elusive and more of a home run here. And so, those runs where Singletary got caught on the screen passes in the back, Joe Mixon's taking that to the house. So he's going to bring a level of explosion to the offense. As far as the contract, I like it. I like it. I don't mind it. Just solidifying your running back position. That you don't have to kind of go for the gusto and draft a running back. I think he's just on par with the Swift and all those other guys that Jacob. Well, I don't want to say Jacobs. I think Jacobs and Saquon were their own tier, but everybody else running back wise were Joe Mixon probably was a little bit ahead of those guys. He's it's being more established and everything like that. But I love it. I love it. I'm glad we have some more solidarity in that position. I feel bad for Dameon Pierce because that to me that signals Dameon Pierce. I don't know. He's in
Kick
limbo.
returner.
Yeah, kick returner. But like I said, man, all in all, he fits it. He fits the offense, fits what they're trying to do. Give CJ another dynamo weapon. So I'm all for it. I'm excited.
AD, I'll stick with you, and then I'll have Mr. Invisible respond. I said that Joe Mixon, right, when I was watching his highlights, what really stood out was his patience, right, following his blockers, really having great vision. And it reminded me of an older running back we used to have. Dare I say that Joe Mixon is the most talented running back we've had since the great Arian Foster?
Ooh.
Because I love Lamar Miller. I love Carlos Hyde. I love Dameon Pierce, but they're not Joe Mixon.
As far as all around back, that Arian Foster was.
What's going on, Pastor? Shout out to Pastor, man. We can't wait to have him on. Keep him at kick returner.
Yeah, no, as far as all around running back, yes, he's the best all around running back we've had. That can run between the tackles, run outside, catch out the backfield. Hell, you can line him up as slot receiver if you wanted to. So I think yes, that it sounds kind of blasphemous. I can't even say it. Blasphemous to say, but he is that damn talented that he can be considered the best running back. And I don't know if that's a shot at the Houston Texans organization that we haven't had, but maybe one or two great running backs in the history. But for sure, man. I think he's right on par of being, especially. Well, let me say this. Let me pause. As of now, he has to go. On paper, he has to go out there and he has to prove it.
Mr. Invisible.
So I'm gonna have to agree with everything that's been said. I think that Joe Mixon's talent and what his production has been overshadowed by that team, just by how fast they came up on the rise. And then last year, Joe Burrow getting hurt, and the ins and outs of the quarterback. But I mean, I don't think that you're getting a better running back right now. Foster, man, that was a different type of guy. That dude was built. But like AD said, Joe Mixon can run between the tackles. He can stretch it out. I mean, he can out of the passing game. He's just dynamic. He'll put his shoulder down, and he's got that breakaway speed. And we haven't had that. I mean, Lamar Miller would get hawked from behind. Devin Singletary would get hawked from behind. So I think that what your evaluation on, he's maybe the next two Arian Foster if he produces next year. It's a big if. There's a lot of variables to it, but right now, as of now, from what he's done in the production that we've seen, I think that he's definitely a tier under.
I will one comment because you said a name. Lamar Miller wasn't getting hawked down. Lamar Miller was a track guy.
Man, that was Tennessee
play.
Titans game. That Titans game had me, bro. He got hawked down, bro. Come on, but it wasn't.
You talking about the one? You talking about the one after Bob McNair pass on that Thursday night?
97 yards to the
97-yard touchdown.
But that's another one. But then that's the one where Adoree Jackson almost had him. I mean, it is Adoree Jackson, but
Adoree Jackson is a 4-2 guy.
Hey
Mr.
man, if you're in the
Invisible.
NFL,
I'll stick with you and then I'll have AD respond. After seeing these moves that general manager Nick Caserio has made, one, what is your grade so far? Because we're not done yet. And two, biggest need currently for this Houston Texan roster. I got to go get my dog, but go ahead.
my grade as of right now, I'm gonna have to give it a B. I think that we filled in a lot of holes. We've added a lot of talent. Day one was a bummer. I'm not gonna lie. I was definitely down. I definitely did give Nick Casario some hate, so I apologize for that. But I think from what we've added between Daniel Hunter, you've added Autry, you've added Joe Mixon, you've added the depth pieces. I'm not mad. I can't say that I'm mad at that. So I would give it a B. Um, and as far as, I mean, yeah, I just feel like it's been a good offseason. I think our biggest need now would, I'm sticking between a cornerback two now and maybe another D tackle. Just because I don't think we're there. The D tackle free agency right now isn't the best market. So that's why I'm kind of iffy. I'd rather just do that in the draft, add a guy like Byron Murphy. Now that I'm seeing the type of defensive tackles that we're adding, um, Newton is more so your quick and shifty guy off the line, and Byron Murphy's just raw power. And I'm the first to say it. I don't think that they've tapped his true potential, honestly.
Mm.
And then that cornerback two spot, Okuda, he's nice. I've liked him. I've said it since the beginning of the season. Bring him in, give him a 1-year prove it deal. I think he still has the potential to be a good cornerback two. I don't think he'll be our cornerback one. Obviously, he's not beating out Stingley, but there's a lot of talent, man, in the draft coming up with these corners. So I'm satisfied with giving it a B so far.
For me, I give it a B plus. I
Mm.
give it a B plus because I'm looking at, you see it and we talk about it on the spaces and on Twitter. But then when you go back and you see and you watch the ESPN graphics and they list all the moves and you look at it and you go like, damn, we just kind of revamped and rebuilt the defense, overhauled the defense in the first 3 days of free agency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I will say we took a step back as far as defensive tackle, but I think they have something planned. I don't think that they make the moves they made. Missing out on Armstead and passing and not passing, but trading Malik Collins to the 49ers. I don't think you make those moves without plans in place to solidify the defensive tackle position. But the fact that we've upgraded at edge, we've upgraded at linebacker. I must say it. Most people may not agree, but we've upgraded cornerback too.
Bet so you okay, so you all right. Jeff
Hey,
Okuda, better than Steven Nelson.
Jeff Okuda, I feel like is a better player. He's younger. First of all, he's younger.
Okay.
He's more talented. He's more athletic. And I feel like Steven Nelson is on the downside.
But didn't Okuda get benched this season?
I don't think
Or
he
what?
got benched.
No, he didn't.
I see
No.
13 games played, 9 games started. Okay, maybe he wasn't benched. Let me see. But
I don't remember
man,
reading that.
what happened?
No, I said I don't remember reading that he got benched, but
Yeah, okay. So 13 games played, 9 games started. So I'll see what happens there. I could have been wrong, but based off of a 5 interception season from Steven Nelson, I wouldn't say better, but I would say like they're neck and neck. Why do you think
come
Okuda's
on.
better?
Let me say this, man. Steven Nelson, because I know a lot of people attributed some of his bad play to his injury in the second half of the season, but the beginning of the season, he was getting his ass roasted. He was getting roasted, and it wasn't even pretty, man. It was like, what are you doing? It was too much confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Him being out of place, not knowing what he's doing, or blaming the safeties or whatever. Like, bro, you were getting toasted and roasted, man. They were baptizing you. The glasses.
Shout out to Steven Nelson, man, and AD. I'll stick with you because you were right in the center of all this Nick
Mhm.
Casario hate. what were your thoughts on the reactions to day one and then the reactions to day two? I don't mind it. I really don't. Right. At the end of the day, we're fans and we're biased as hell. It's just why, and what I learned from doing, YouTube over the years is, what I say comes back to bite me in the ass, right? So, uh, the overreaction on Monday was definitely warranted. Um, but the reaction on day two was just better. It was just better hearing everyone say, "Oh, Nick, you had us, man." But thoughts on the chaos on day one and day two?
Hey, so I mean, it was chaos on social media was in its rare form, man.
It
Like
was bad.
it was on it wasn't as bad as the Davis Mills
Oh,
as the
oh
Davis
my
Mills,
God.
but it was close, man. It was close. It was bad. But the discourse on there, you got to think about it. What Nick Casario has proved the last 2 years is that what the hell you talking about, Fester?
Yeah.
The last 2 years, Nick Casario has slow played it. Last offseason we were complaining because we didn't get such and such big name free agents and everything like that. And then we end up getting these guys like Schultz and Rankins and Singletary, who end up being like super key pieces to this team. And helped us push to the playoffs and win a playoff game.
Uh-huh.
I think this is the same thing. People were kind of down because we didn't get the super big name, Saquon and Christian Wilkins and everything. I was kind of down because I was like, at the end of the day, we're gonna get one of them, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
gotta get one, right? And the fact that we didn't get both, either one, it kind of brought you down. It kind of made you feel some type of way. And I understand the sentiments. Like people were just kind of pissed off because they're thinking here the same old Texans again. Then Nick Casario, like I said, he had that thing up his sleeve. He had that big joke up his sleeve. And he was like, I got you. I got you. And, he took care of business with the Danielle Hunter and the Joe Mixon trade. But for damn sure, I feel like we're building a better roster than what we've had the previous year. And I'm excited to see what else we're going to do. But I mean, it's helter skelter with Nick Casario, man.
Mr.Invisible, I was asking AD about the reactions on day one and day two of free agency. You yourself said, I apologize. What were you saying on day one? And be honest, right? Okay, you're on stream. And what were you saying on day two?
So day one was a pretty bad day for me. I was waiting for that 11 o'clock to roll around. I thought by 11:05 we'd go sign a big name. We had all this money in the bank. I'm okay, let's do it. And then I see Lonnie Johnson as our first signing. That's our first signing.
Shout out to Lonnie, man. Shout out
No,
to
yeah,
Lonnie.
much love to Lonnie. Much love to Lonnie. But I looked at my phone and I must have. I don't know, man. I was just like, okay, I couldn't come up with an explanation to why we did it. But I got on Twitter and I talked my mess. I was like, Nick
What'd you
Casario, here
say?
he goes again. He's doing the same old, same old. The Texans are never gonna change. You have a quarterback now, and this is the window. And I talked a lot of mess about Nick. So I'm sorry, Nick. I should have never second guessed that vest you wear there. And then day two, man, I was just like, okay, Nick is now moving. I thought his phone was off. Maybe he didn't pay his phone bill or something. But all around, as much mess as I talked, what he did last offseason and bringing in players that were impact players, I've kind of learned to not put it past him, to bring in players that fit the scheme and that are going to do what we need. So as much mess as I talked day one, I thought we were screwed. We didn't get those big names. But, now I'm looking at the roster and this team is better. This team is better now. Your defense is better. I think you got that defense to stop the run. I think Okudah is going to be better than Nelson. Nelson is, 30 going on 31. Jeff Okudah is 25 and was a former number 3 overall pick. And then you add a guy like Aziz, a physical guy. I want to see what they do with that linebacker room, who's going to play the mic and, But I definitely think this team is better. Now I think now we go for the fireworks and go add some positions, some skill positions, some receivers. And that's going to be done in the draft. And obviously, there's still Hunter Winfro that I'm still excited about bringing in. So,
Don't
You
do it,
sure?
AD.
You sure about the draft?
Don't do it,
oh
AD.
man, here he
All
goes.
right, okay, all right,
I
all
saw
right.
the
Let's
head
get
tilt.
into it. Let's get into it. AD.
Mm-hmm. Where you want me to touch? I got to. I can go either way. Pause.
That's crazy. That's gay.
Pauses in the chat, man. Pauses in the chat.
um, is there another big move? Because I'm not gonna lie, I feel it. And here's the thing: when Nick fucks up, he makes up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You didn't get Saquon. You didn't get Christian Wilkins. You get Daniel Hunter. You get Joe Mix.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make this Sheldon Rankins trade and not come out with the plan after.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there is something in the works. I don't think he's gonna wait till the draft, right? He pulled the trigger on Hunter and Mixon. I feel like this bastard might pull the trigger on something else. All right, he's gonna pull out sources. Watch.
No, no.
Yeah, he's ready.
No. I think they pivot. It's been rumored. It's been rumored, but I feel like it's something in the works. This is just my theory. This is only
Okay.
AD's theory.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't subscribe to anybody but AD.
Nice.
Is that the Houston Texans are going to pull off a trade for T. Higgins?
I thought you were gonna say Aaron
Hmm.
Donald.
Hell no. See, I'm gonna go on the other side. Aaron Donald, no. That's not happening. He owns a piece. He owns a part of the Rams franchise, man. that he ain't going nowhere. He look. If Aaron Donald gets traded, I think Aaron Donald will retire before he gets traded.
Love that.
Agreed.
So
But what about T. Higgins?
Man, T. Higgins. T. Higgins. My only thing is you kind of already have a T. Higgins and Nico, and we've already kind of solidified that Bobby likes Tank on the outside. Now I understand the whole, putting him on the outside is going to put him be more vulnerable and stuff, obviously. But I wouldn't mind it, but it's kind of like, what are we going to have to? What are we going to have to give up to bring in a guy like T? Because I
Well,
think. Oh, go ahead.
no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I think you bring in a guy like T, you're giving up the draft capital. You kind of have a guy like Nico, and I'm gonna be that guy. I hate to be that guy, but you have a guy like T Higgins and Keon Coleman. If that's the plan to bring in a guy like T, why not just trade back into the second round and take Keon Coleman?
Rogue says, "What if the Bosa and Mac restructures were to get traded?"
Hmm.
I mean, we do know that the Chargers had to make so much moves to get themselves in a better cap situation. What are you going to say, AD?
I'm not. This is just me. I'm not trading for a restructured Khalil Mack or a restructured Joey Bosa trade because those contracts were stupid. And when now you just pushing the money down, and it's gonna hit you. It's gonna hit you. Harder. Pause. It's gonna
That's
hit you.
true. That's true.
It's gonna hit you later on, man. I would like them as players, but those contracts are just, especially you know,
Khalil.
restructured. Yeah, Khalil Mack is crazy contract restructured. Yeah, Keon Coleman, I agree in the chat. I don't think he would be the option. I'm not a big Keon Coleman fan. But and look, I think I'm reading the chat. My bad, I'm reading the chat. But
That's
uh,
popping, man.
yeah, another one. I think they brought it up. People don't care for T Higgins. Fine, I personally care for T Higgins, but I wouldn't be mad at a Brandon Ayuk either.
Mm.
Which one you think is more likely?
Brandon Ayuk is more likely than T, but I'm that's just me personally. I'm pushing
And I
the T
think
narrative.
today it said that he had mutual interest in getting traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That would be nasty for them. I mean, with T. Higgins, I mean, I've liked him ever since he was coming out of Clemson,
Mm-hmm.
and he was drafted just a couple of picks right before the Houston Texans. And I think when you have an opportunity to get a wide receiver like him, take your chance. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to pay Nico Collins next year.
Do you?
So that's what I'm saying. If you get someone
No,
like
hold on. Right, yeah. Go ahead. My
if you
bad.
get someone like T. Higgins, I mean, it's a good sign that hey, hey Nico, unless you have like an absurd season, this might be your last year in the H, unless something happens. But I don't know. Maybe they just decide to extend Nico and extend T. Higgins and just give C.J. Stroud the best receiving trio for the next 3 to 4 years.
Let me say this to the chat because I'm being a little negative. I know we're not negative, but I want to be just a tad bit negative.
Go ahead.
T. Higgins is a better player than Nico Collins. Okay, at this moment in time, T. Higgins has proven more than 1 year that he's a better receiver than Nico Collins at this point in career and in their career. I think Nico is a year or two younger than T. Higgins. But T. Higgins has 2 1,000-yard seasons, if I'm not mistaken, and then another 900.
Yes,
Whereas,
900 in his rookie year, 1,021, 1,022, and this year only 656 for 5 tutties.
Right, mind you, he was hurt and missed part of the season. So I think if he would have played a full season, he would have got 1,000 yards again. Now, mind you, this is 1,000 yards as being the number 2. Got 1,000 yards being the number 2. Nico Collins had an amazing year. He's talented as hell. I don't want people to think I'm trying to bash on Nico. Nico is just not as good as T. Higgins right now. In the future, Nico can be better, but right now, he's not as good as T. Higgins.
Mr.Invisible, your thoughts?
I'm gonna have to be the negative Nancy on that whole conversation there. For the simple fact that I agree, T. Higgins has had better years, but when I look at Nico, he's played under 3 different offensive coordinators, 3 different quarterbacks, and I think it takes a bit of time. He developed late, and that's fine. I preferably would like to extend Nico now, and you got Tank. I think Nico is your number 1. I'm not bringing in a guy like Ayuk or T, but I would like to see the continuity in keeping Nico. And if he does have another breakout year, then I'm kind of sick if we trade. I mean, if we just let him walk for nothing, basically. This receiving draft is so deep. I think that you can find another receiver that can produce. T. Higgins is a great receiver. I think he's like 6'4". He's had 2 1,000 years. He's a touchdown, a red zone machine. But I mean, I like Nico. I like Nico. I'm going to have to be the biased person. This is just my opinion. I like Nico and what he did this year and what he brought to the offense. So I'm keeping Nico. If we trade for T, I'm not mad, but I don't think it's a necessity. I think receiver 3 is Noah Brown. He's been good, but I don't think he's not cutting it for me. He's not cutting it for me personally. So I'd like to draft the receiver. Hunter, I don't think he's not going to be pricey at all, bro. And we talked about receiver, skill set. And I mean, Hunter Renfrow is just that.
Do you trade for sign Hunter Renfrow, or do you draft Ladd McConkey?
Oh, man,
dude, I think Ladd's gonna be crazy. I mean, isn't his combine numbers, like his splits and his 10-yard stuff, better than what Cooper Kupp's was when he was coming out the combine? Just elite route running, and has hands, has a little bit of burst on him.
Come on, man.
But we're talking about at 23. So are you trading back to 28, 29, 30 maybe, and getting a couple of extra picks? But I mean, leg it in the second round, I wouldn't mind that whatsoever either. But I mean,
you guys know,
I mean, you could still draft McConkey and and have Hunter Renfrow, right? Because Renfrow's not going to sign for a big contract. And
look, I'm not trying to come off no way, but you can only have 1 wide receiver. You can't have 2. It's a joke, y'all. It's a joke,
bro.
I mean,
y'all know I've been a Ladd fan for I don't know how long,
the Rams,
bro. I think
he's going to be the Rams.
He's been overshadowed.
No. They have 1. They have 1. Puka is not white.
Oh.
Puka's not white.
Man, you know what?
Bro,
Texas needs some white boys catching the ball, bro. Like, It's
Kevin Walter, man, prime example. Come on, man.
come on,
Come on, bro.
Mr.
But Lad, I
Reliable.
think if you ask me, bro, the risk would be in trading back for Lad. Hunter is kind of proven already, but I like Lad. I've been a fan of Lad. He's been overshadowed by that crazy talented offense in Brock Bowers. So Lad, if you watched him play in college, man, he is built. So I wouldn't mind trading back and bringing him in. I think all right. And I think that's the blessing. The good thing about the Texans right now is that's the spot that we're in. We have the opportunity to go best player available, and we can even trade back and still take best player available. You got a guy like Brian Thomas, who is falling into the 20s. So I think that these receivers will be there. But later on in the draft in the 20s, a lot of teams are going to take those receivers. So, I mean, Lad, I definitely think Lad is definitely the guy for me. 4.4 speed. He's got that. What's the deceptive speed? So, I definitely wouldn't mind trading back and bringing in Lad.
Hey, I gotta say this real quick. I just got a text from one of my co-hosts, Mike G. Y'all know Michael Gartman.
What's going on, Mike?
He said on behalf of the white delegation, we claim Puka.
Hey, man.
Man, I love that, bro. I love
Y'all
that.
remember when the Texans had a Mexican on the team? His name was he never
Roy
got playing
Lopez.
time. His name was Joaquim Iglesias, and he was always on the practice squad. But just straight afro, straight mustache. Go look him up. I believe he played for Arkansas, but gave us a little bit of hope there, right? We haven't seen one since though. So.
We had Roy.
Yeah, Roy.
Yeah. Shout out to Roy. But he was here for a cup of tea.
I love
Man, that is crazy. That is crazy. Shout out to my Mexicans, man. We need more of us in the league, but I don't know, man. It's just once we get there, there's not a lot of us over 6 something, and if there is, we're playing soccer, So
Where's the money at?
Soccer, bro.
There you go.
Hey, come on, man.
Well, now I think us here in America, I think now that these NIL deals, are the way to go. So as soon as you start having kids, man, get them ready because that NIL deal money in 20 years from now is gonna be it is gonna be ridiculous, right? So yeah, man, shout out to Roy Lopez, Rip. Harley had his own shirt about big sexy Roy Lopez. But 290 people in the stream, guys. Make sure you guys are liking. That's how you help us out the most. But before we continue with this stream, AD, let them know where they can find your work, man.
Hey, you can find me at the H-Town Rundown on Instagram, H-Town Rundown Podcast on Instagram, the H-Town Rundown on Twitter, and the H-Town Rundown on YouTube as well.
Mr.Invisible, give yourself a shout out.
You can find me on Twitter at Mr.Invisible Texan. It's real simple. We post every day. I post every day, kind of my takes and stuff. So that's where you can find me at.
Man, I'm excited. And Alex said, as a Mexican, I can confirm I'll be the kicker for the Texans. Give me 4 years. Hey.
Let's go, baby.
Hey, let's go, Alex. And then, don't forget, we believed in you since this stream, man. Since this stream, we believed in you. So. But as we go back, when you look at the draft, so are we going wide receiver at 23, or with the recent stuff going on at the defensive tackle spot, are you getting a Byron Murphy falls to you, a Jerzon Johnny Newton? What do you think, Mr. Invisible?
I personally don't have a preference, honestly. I'm going to be on that side. There's a lot of corners, receivers, and defensive tackles, which is what I'm looking at right now, that you can take. I think you go best player available. Me personally, I'd want to trade back. I know a lot of people probably want that D tackle spot, but I think D'Amico and his scheme has enough talent to kind of hide our wrongs. And I think that our edge can kind of, in a sense, cover up not how bad our defensive tackle room is, because it's not bad, but I think there's ways around it. So I think whatever player falls to you, or if you want to trade back, I think you do that. I don't have a particular pick. My only thing is if Byron Murphy is there at 23, then hey, pull it, run the card in, and But if he's not there, I personally would trade back and probably go with a receiver or a corner. There's still Chris Jenkins, who's predicted 2 or 3, and I wouldn't mind bringing him in out of Michigan. So there's still ways around it, but I personally don't have a preference on who I want right now.
AD pick 23. What are you doing?
I'm gonna say my hot take first. My hot take is that the Houston Texans won't touch receiver until the third round or later.
Wow.
I see the first 2 picks, unless we trade down to get multiple second round picks. I think the first 2 picks are going to be defense. Not a combination of defense. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be D tackle, depending on what we do, or if it's going to be corner. I do think linebacker is going to
Adrian
be
Cooper?
Adrian Cooper. Is a pick in the second round, and I think Nick Casario may trade up to get for D'Amico, because for reports, D'Amico absolutely loves Adrian Cooper and what he can do.
So follow up. And I think you guys were having this conversation in the group chat earlier. You just signed Aziz Al Shair to a 3-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Is it smart to still draft someone like Adrian Cooper?
Yes, because if Al Shazier gets hurt, if Christian Harris gets hurt, somebody pissed. Somebody. um, if Al Shahir gets hurt, if Christian Harris gets hurt, where are we? Um, either way, I think D'Amico may be. I know we played a lot of nickel,
Uh-huh.
2 linebacker sets. I think that we may. I think D'Amico wants to play 3 linebackers, a lot more. So that's why I think the Cooper thing may have some legs. I know it's like I said before. I tweeted out this hashtag piss people off season. That'll piss some people off, a lot of people off. But because you have those people in the second round, we'll take Cooper and they say, man, you could have had Keon Coleman, man, you could have had, AD Mitchell, you could have had Worthy, you could have had.
Man, AD Mitchell, that would get me excited, man.
Look, I'm a UT hater because I'm an Aggie at heart, man. But I wouldn't mind pick 23 being AD Mitchell.
What about Xavier Worthy?
I wouldn't mind Xavier Worthy either. But I got a bet going that one of those guys will make it to the second round. So I just need one to make it to the second round so I get my money. And then, but all in all, I think they both talented as hell. And they would just boost the offense, to extremes that we hope CJ can take us to.
I have
Mr.
a
Vaughn
follow up.
said, go ahead.
So, AD, in regards to, I agree with everything you said. So, are you kind of giving up on Henry To'oTo'o? I mean, he had a pretty good end of his season, but are you wiping your hands on Henry?
Let me say this, man. I don't call him Henry To'oTo'o. His name is Henry Noah Noah.
Ooh.
Okay, because I look. Henry lost me. I was at the Buccaneers game in the stands watching it live.
Going crazy.
I
was hammered. I was fucked up, dude.
This is the end of the game, right? We take out. I think it's Denzel Perryman.
Okay.
And we put in Henry To'oTo'o. I'm confused. I don't know. Yeah, it's the Bucs game.
You're talking about the touchdown?
I'm talking about as soon as he touches the field, touchdown. I say, nope. Then I say, and I caught it. What was crazy? I'm in the game and I'm yelling, no, no, he's going to give up a touchdown. And the very next play, look.
Look, I can see it. I can agree with you. I understand.
He's horrible in coverage. Look, I understand his IQ skills, IQ and everything is great. Yeah, Jay, I am.
Shout out to Jay.
His IQ skills are great. Everything like that. He's smart as hell. But if you don't have the ability to get to where you need to get to, whether it be in coverage or on the line of scrimmage, then it's pointless. So you can know where to go, but if you can't get there, what's the point? And for me, that's what Tortoy is. He knows where the hell he's going, what the hell he's doing. Smart as hell, can diagnose everything that you need, for a linebacker, but he just doesn't have the ability to get there.
Bernard J. McKinney 2.0 is what I'm hearing.
I mean, Henry could, do good on special teams, right? I mean,
we don't got to bump him down to special teams already.
I mean, he could be in the rotation, right? But make your bread on the special team, dude. I'm excited about Azeez Al-Shaair. I am excited about the possibility of giving someone like Edgerrin Cooper, and who's to say that Edgerrin Cooper just doesn't beat out Al-Shaair, doesn't beat out Christian Harris, right? If he's that talented, and his season was insane, over 100 plus tackles, 22 defensive stops, 10 sacks. And I mean, this dude was all over the field for the Aggies. So there is a lot of talent right there, man. And
look at how you could use Edgerrin Cooper.
Just three linebacker sets, dude.
But I'm just saying, look out on third down, and you have Edgerrin Cooper, Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson, and the Nico Autry getting after the quarterback on 3rd and 15. You know what kind of, like, Edgerrin Cooper is a excellent blitz linebacker.
10 sacks.
He has the speed, everything that you need. And just imagine having 3 linebackers that are speedy, rangy linebackers on the field at the same time.
Would you be mad if they trade up for him?
In the second round, I understand. I would not trade up to go in the first to get him. I don't think, as much as I love Edgerrin Cooper, at this point, I don't think any linebacker is a first round pick with the way this draft is structured right now.
Yeah, you got Edgerrin Cooper coming in at 4.52 speed, and his burst, his 10 yards, is 1.54. You pairing that with Christian Harris. Every mock that I've done, Edgerrin Cooper has been a part of it. And one other guy, if we can't get Cooper, if he doesn't fall to us, I don't mind trading up for him. But another guy that I've been looking at a lot is Nathaniel Watson, kind of the same type of player. Good with coverage out of Mississippi State. So that's another guy just to keep your eyes out. He's not going to go in the second or third, but later rounds. But again, back to Edgerrin Cooper. I mean, you pair him with Azeez. I think if that's the case, Azeez goes to Mike, and Edgerrin Cooper and Harris are just out there flying. I mean, you got 2. I don't remember what Christian Harris run in his 40, but Edgerrin Cooper at 4.52, man. I mean, come on, bro.
Is that what he ran at the combine?
Yep, that's what I'm right here is what I'm seeing. He finished second behind Peyton Wilson.
Oh, look,
Peyton Wilson, man, that injury history scares you.
Yep.
Look, man, don't get fooled by the 40 time. Like,
oh no, for sure.
Peyton Wilson. No, I know you're not, but I'm just saying, like, people got enamored. They saw that 40 time and they was like, oh, let's take him in the second round. Oh, let's take him, in the early third, or let's trade up for him. No. No. He's a decent linebacker, but he's not somebody you trade for and somebody you don't take in the second round. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Man, guys, it's crazy that we're here, to be honest with y'all. Like, that we're in this position, that we did win now moves, right? Like, getting a Daniil Hunter, getting a Joe Mixon. I think the future is as bright as can be for this Houston Texans team. And before we go, I'm going to ask each of you the same question, and we can start with Mr. Invisible. With what you've seen so far, all the signings, and the signings include Bobby Slowick, Gerard Johnson, Singletary, Kaimi Fairbairn, how do you think this Houston Texans season could potentially go? Because I was up last night, up the entire night, just thinking about possibilities, thinking about scenarios, and half of those scenarios ended up with CJ hoisting up a fucking trophy, dude. Like, I'm bought in, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say my early prediction is right now 12 games is what I'm giving us that we win. 12-13 for the simple fact that
schedule?
Hey, when you look, bro, let me just one big statistic that put out to me between Autry, Daniil Hunter, and Will Anderson last season, 34.5 sacks, bro. That's just one crazy stat, and I just think that pass rush, and a lot of our games were close games that we just couldn't finish out on defense, and this defense is better now. I know we have a harder schedule this year coming up, but CJ's coming into year 2. You get Tank back. If we would have had Tank in a few of those games, we would have won. Um, you have Nico coming back. You got a better running back in Mixon. That defense is just sick. And I'm also counting on this draft that we're going to have. This draft has so many names and so many talents that I can give us 12 wins right now, give or take. So I think this season is going to be really exciting. I think we definitely have a chance to hit the Super Bowl, but I would be willing to bet that we get to at least the conference title this year.
AD.
That's how I'm coming. That's how I'm coming. Pause.
That's crazy.
Hey, let me say this, man. Dan Orlovsky said it earlier today.
Oh, don't get me started, AD.
2021 Cincinnati Bengals. Texans going to the Super Bowl, man.
Come on, baby.
We not doing out of the ordinary things like trading for Joe Mixon, giving him a 3-year contract extension. We're not signing Danielle Hunter.
What?
To a basically guaranteed contract. We're not signing out Aziz Al-Shahir, to a 3-year contract. We're not doing these. We're not making these moves. We're not, doing all of these different things. Re-signing Dalton Schultz instead of letting them walk. We're not doing all of these different moves and making all of these changes. Keeping Bobby Sloyd, keeping Gerard Johnson. We're not doing none of this. Without the fact that we're going to the damn Super Bowl, man. That's it. End of story. I don't know what seed we're gonna be, but whatever it is, we running through them motherfucker. So
let's go, baby.
I absolutely love it. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all got a preview of what is to come in the future. There will be something special coming with this trio right here, plus one more. With that being said, I was joined by AD, the host of the H-Town Rundown. And you already know, but you don't know who it is, Mr. Invisible. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Ruben. Just follow me on YouTube. Type in 713 Houston Sportcast. Do us all a favor. Have a real blessed rest of your night. Hopefully we see you guys tomorrow with some great news.